Hi guys, this is another sentence correction example, but this time you have to just change the phrase that has been underlined, unlike the whole sentence. So let us see how to go about that. So the failing of the book lies not in a lack of attention to scientific detail, but in the depiction of the scenes of life and death in the marine world with emotional overtones that reduce the credibility of the work. There are two to three grammatical observations which you should make in this particular sentence. First is there are certain word couples which go together as a standard. One of them is not and but. Secondly is not only but also. Thirdly, it is so much so, etc. So one of that standardized word couples is in the sentence which is not and but. Now let us see the underlined sentence. But in the depiction of scenes of life and death in the marine world with emotional overtones that reduce the credibility of the work. There's another rule which works very well in this sentence, which is the rule of that versus which. When do we use that as a clause and which as a clause? So that is used for a very specific scenario, like in this case, it is a marine world depiction and that too with emotional overtones. So this is a very specific scenario in which we will not use which, but we will use that. So, overall, the sentence makes grammatical sense, but let us negate the other sentences and come back to the conclusion of the best answer. All right. So, first, depiction of scenes of life and death in the marine world with emotional overtones. This is no change, just like the original phrase. Second, fact that it depicts marine world scenes of life and death as having emotional overtones. Now, there's a very important rule in GMAT sentence correction which says that the sentence has to be short, sweet, and grammatically correct without unnecessarily making it long or using lot of complex clauses or phrases. So, part B is that example of a complex sentence structure, but in the fact that it depicts marine world, so it is unnecessarily making it longer and more complex, and therefore we will cancel this sentence or this phrase. Then next, depiction of scenes of life and death in the marine world whose emotional overtones that reduce the credibility of the work. So whose emotional overtones that reduce the credibility of the work, that does not make a grammatically correct clause, plus makes it more complex, and therefore we negate it. D. Depiction of marine world scenes of life and death which have emotional overtones and thus reduce the credibility of the work. It is not a cause and effect scenario that there are emotional overtones and therefore the credibility of the work is reduced. It's like an observation that they made it with emotional overtones which have reduced the credibility of the work. And therefore, this sentence is more longer, it is more complex, and it is unnecessary. So we can delete that. Last, fact that it depicts scenes of life and death in the marine world whose emotional overtones, again, this is more complex. And the second part of the phrase, from whose emotional overtones, does not make a grammatically correct clause. So then, by the process of elimination, we now know that A is the best possible answer. Alright, guys, good luck. Use the tips to the fullest and happy studying. Bye bye. Thank you guys. Do have a look at all my videos about various sections of GMAT and utilize the tips to the fullest. And it's been wonderful interacting with you all. Happy studying, happy GMAT. Bye guys. We'll come again tomorrow with another interesting video. Thank you so much.